I've always hated mirrors. Something about seeing my reflection unnerves me, as if the person looking back isn't quite me. It's an irrational fear, I know, but I've never been able to shake it. That's why I keep mirrors to a minimum in my house. One in the bathroom, one in the bedroom, just enough for basic needs. But even with those, I avoid lingering in front of them for too long. A couple of months ago, I moved into a new apartment. It's a small place, nothing fancy, but it suits me fine. There was one feature, though, that made me uncomfortable right from the start. A large, antique mirror hanging in the hallway, just outside the bathroom door. The landlord told me it was an original fixture, part of the building's history, and removing it wasn't an option. I try not to think too much about it, but every time I walked past, I felt its presence. It wasn't long before I started noticing things. At first, they were subtle, easily brushed off as tricks of the light or sleep-deprived hallucinations. I'd walk past the mirror and swear my reflection had delayed just a second too long before mimicking my movements. Or I'd catch a glimpse of something in my peripheral vision, a shadow moving behind me, even though I knew I was alone. But then it got worse. One night, I was getting ready for bed when I passed the mirror on my way to the bathroom. I didn't stop, didn't look directly at it, just a quick glance as I walked by. That's when I saw it. My reflection didn't move. I froze, heart pounding, as my eyes flicked back to the mirror. There I was standing still, facing the mirror. But the reflection, the other me, wasn't moving. He was just standing there, staring straight ahead, his eyes locked onto mine. My skin prickled with cold sweat, and for a moment, I couldn't breathe. I took a step back, and finally, the reflection moved. Slowly, deliberately, it mirrored my actions. But something was wrong. The expression on its face wasn't mine. It was too calm, too emotionless, like it was wearing my face as a mask. I tried to convince myself that I was imagining it, that I was just tired, but deep down I knew something was off. Over the next few days, I became obsessed with the mirror. I couldn't help but check it every time I passed by, hoping to catch my reflection doing something strange. Sometimes I'd stand there for minutes at a time, watching, waiting, and each time, my reflection would stare back, just a little too intensely, as if it was studying me. Then came the night that changed everything. I woke up in the middle of the night, drenched in sweat, feeling like something was watching me. The apartment was dark, but I could sense a presence, something lingering just outside my bedroom door. I sat up, my eyes adjusting to the dim light, and that's when I heard it, a soft, barely audible tap, tap, tap. It was coming from the hallway. My heart raced as I got out of bed and crept toward the door. The sound grew louder, more deliberate. I hesitated for a moment, hand trembling as I reached for the doorknob. Slowly, I opened the door and peeked out. There in the hallway stood my reflection. It wasn't in the mirror. It was standing outside of it. He was just like me, down to every detail. The same hair, the same clothes, the same terrified expression on his face. But his eyes were wrong. They were dark, hollow, like two empty pits staring straight through me. For what felt like an eternity, we just stood there, staring at each other. Neither of us moved. Then slowly he smiled. It was a twisted, mocking grin, a smile that didn't belong on my face. Before I could react, he lifted his hand and waved, a casual, almost taunting gesture. I blinked, and just like that, the hallway was empty. My pulse pounded in my ears as I tried to make sense of what I'd just seen. The darkness in the hallway was thick, the air oppressive, but there was no one there. My eyes darted to the mirror, its surface glinting in the dim light, reflecting nothing but the empty hallway. My reflection was back where it belonged. For the next hour, I sat in bed, too afraid to sleep, trying to convince myself it was just a dream. Or maybe some half-awake hallucination. After all, I'd been stressed, sleeping poorly, and obsessing over that damn mirror for days. I had to be imagining things. There was no other explanation. But the next morning, something nagged at me. I stood in front of the mirror, my eyes scanning every inch of my reflection, looking for anything out of place. My face stared back, ordinary and tired. Yet I couldn't shake the sensation that something was different. And then I noticed it, a faint, barely visible smudge near the bottom corner of the mirror's surface. where I was sure I had touched the glass last night when I waved. But the smudge was on the outside of the glass. Not mine. I stared at it, my heart hammering in my chest. Maybe I'd left it there earlier. Maybe it had always been there, and I hadn't noticed. Maybe I was just letting my mind play tricks on me. These days, I try not to linger near the mirror any more than I have to. Not because I'm afraid of what I might see, but because I'm afraid that, one day, I won't be able to tell if it's me looking back at all.